So you talked about all these pieces in your most famous TED Talk, and just talked about how people should use these things. And then you went into the art of listening as well.
Yeah, well, listening to me is even more important. And after all, what's the point of speaking if nobody's listening? And that is very largely the case. And I've just developed a full day course on listening, actually. It was fascinating. I started out thinking, I can't do a full day on this. And at the end, it was just like, what can I leave out? I've got to take stuff out of this. There's too much for a day. We tend to indulge in faux listening. You know, a lot of people do that because really listening is an extraordinary thing. I mean, literally extraordinary. It's not usual. For the real listener, the person speaking is the only thing that matters in the world at that point. So real listening is not, yeah, I'm listening to you. I am listening to you. Yeah, no, carry on. That's not real listening. Real listening is absolutely focused. It's conscious, because listening is an activity. We tend to think of the ears as passive. Excuse me. Because sound comes in here and we don't do anything. You know, it's not like looking where you're actually doing something.
And it's
obviously.
always on.
It's not passive. Hearing is passive. There's not much you can do about hearing. I mean, I can hear what's going on around me all the time. Listening is making meaning from sound. It's deciding what I'm going to pay attention to and what it means to me. So it's ascribing value and meaning to symbols, if you like, sonic patterns that we recognize, the most obvious of which is your name. So if somebody says, Brian, you go, was that for me? Excuse me. So we use our ears all the time. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, we're very lazy about it. So we might look like we're listening. There's a lot of pretend listening that goes on. You know, somebody nodding and thinking, what am I going to have for lunch?
Yeah, when can I talk?
Exactly. There's a lot of interrupting that goes on. I get very frustrated with journalism now because I think the whole meme of attack journalism is a very sad thing. You know, there's a kind of a death dance between politicians and journalists now, where the politicians get 10 or 15 seconds before they're interrupted by the journalist. So they get their soundbite in, or you get this nonsense of, I'm very glad you asked me that question because I'm going to say something completely different now. Or, you know, it isn't normal conversation, not like this.
Right, like a news panel where everyone also is looking to jump in and cut things off.
Yeah, interrupting is just rude, actually. And it's very unfortunate that journalists have started doing this as a matter of course, actually. There's a very, very good practice people can take, if there's anybody watching this who's an interrupter, because it does become a habit. The 3-second rule is fantastic. And that is to count to 3 before you say anything.
Okay, that's after you're done or just? Okay.
After I finish, count to 3. I mean, I'm not telling you to do it now, but for an interrupter, that's a really, really difficult thing. Sometimes they may have to start with a 1-second rule or just breathe in before speaking. That helps because that gives that moment to pause. Then there's kind of what I call speech writing listening, which is where we look like we're listening, but actually we're composing our next brilliant, witty piece of repartee while this inconvenient noise over there is going on. So you get lots of non sequiturs if you're doing that from those kind of people. There are many, I mean, I've listed lots and lots of errors and obstacles to listening. Emotion gets in the way of listening. You know, when we're upset, I think there's actually an inverse relationship between emotion and listening, which is to say, if you're upset and I really listen to you, you'll get less upset. What I'm hearing is, I hear that you're really upset, you know, and then it tends to go into a normal conversation. If somebody's not listening, somebody can get more and more and more upset. At the same time, if you're really, really upset, it's hard to listen. It really is. We're much more interested in giving our point of view. And
yeah, I remember a couples therapist one time. I actually went to couples therapy, I think like 10 years ago, and he said, we're going to do this exercise. And this was a fascinating one. He said, your girlfriend's going to talk for a minute, and she's going to say what's bothering her. You are going to listen to it, and then you're going to talk for a minute and say what's bothering you, and then neither one of you are allowed to say anything for 24 hours.
Wow.
And I think they might have added that only thing I could say was to summarize what she said about me, and she did the same about her. So you know that they actually heard you and they said it in a way.
Active listening, yeah.
And then you actually had to sit with it for 24 hours. And,
fantastic.
Yeah, fascinating listening exercise.
Yeah.
To watch the rest of this fascinating interview, click on the link below and go to londonrealacademy.com. There you can sign in with your social media, log in and watch the rest of the episode for free, along with all of our episodes on London Real, my webinars, and all of our premium content, all located over at londonrealacademy.com. So click on the link below, you'll be directed there and you can watch the rest of this fascinating interview, and I'll see you there.